Welcome to That Weekend Feeling with Daron Mann.
That Weekend Feeling is brought to you by the Weekend Post and the Daily Dispatch Weekend Edition.
Be inspired. Watch the online reveal of the top 12 local heroes and frontline hero of the Eastern Cape on Thursday, the 28th of October 2021 on the Dispatch Live Facebook page. Local heroes are ordinary people who do selfless and extraordinary work to support their communities. Their stories will motivate you to be the change you wish to see. The 7th Annual Local Hero Awards are proudly brought to you by the Daily Dispatch and Johnson & Johnson. For more information, visit dispatchlive.co.za.
That Weekend Feeling guest today is Adrian Gardiner. Welcome.
Hi Darren, it's Adrian speaking. I look forward to chatting to you. It's about time that we connected. How are you doing?
Doing very well, thank you. For those who don't know, Adrian Gardiner, decades-long conservation pioneer and proponent of rewilding the Eastern Cape. He's also the founder and owner of the Mantis Collection, as well as the Community Conservation Fund of Africa, and he's patron of the Wilderness Foundation South Africa and Global. It's quite a CV, Adrian, lots to keep you busy. And I'd start by saying, fair to say that the world of conservation in the Eastern Cape now is very different to what it was when you started with Shamwari way back in the 1990s.
Yeah, what I'd like to say, Darren, is that, thanks to the team that I had and the vision that I had and the support from what I'd like to call endorsement people, if it hadn't been for Ian Player, I don't think that Shamwari would have been the success that it was. And through Ian, he introduced me to a number of other people who endorsed what I was doing. And I'm talking top conservationists around the world, like Virginia McKenna, John Aspinall, David Attenborough, and many others, that endorsed what we're doing. So I'm just saying is that because of the incredible team that I had, I think as a result of the success of Shamwari, today the Eastern Cape can be classified as a wildlife destination of Southern Africa. And we were the first sort of malaria-free destination, which I think also subsequently and definitely helped our positioning of what we were doing. And then I think most importantly, close to an international airport. So, with Port Elizabeth just being around the corner and everything, I think that made a big difference to what we were trying to do there. But, as I'm saying, is that the real thing was that it became a wildlife destination, the Eastern Cape.
Adrian, at the moment, though, the last year and a half, like many industries, the hospitality industry and the game that you're in has been facing difficult times. With lockdown, there's also been a drought. How is the industry in general coping?
Darren, I never thought that this would happen in my lifetime. My parents and, the previous generation went through world wars and that sort of thing. In my opinion, although there's not the devastation of property, I mean, this is really sad what's happened is because this is really a world pandemic. I mean, every country in the world is affected. And, it's really had a devastating effect on tourism, as you know, and certainly in our part of the industry where we really position most of our products for the international market. So 6 to 7 months of the year, international 5 months otherwise. So now we've got 12 months of local market, which obviously we can't get the rates that we get out of the international market. So it's had a really, really tremendous impact on, I think, everybody in tourism. And, when it's going to end, who knows? So it's been very sad, I must say. But fortunately, we've managed to survive because thankfully, as you know, we did the deal with the international company called Accor, who bought 50% of our brand. And they have been a great support to us. So hopefully the next 6 months we will see a change, but I'm not counting my chickens.
Adrian, I've spoken to a few other people in your industry, and they've told me of some very difficult decisions they've had to make. Animals have had to be put down in certain instances. Staff have had to be retrenched. Have those affected you as well?
There's no doubt that the drought, when I started Shamwari some 30 years ago, just been through 7 years of drought. And it was degraded, abused, and drought-ravaged land. And, when I see what's happening now, it's just... It's really sad. I must tell you, it's, obviously we're having to feed our animals at great cost. We're having to translocate animals at great cost. Obviously, we've gone through retrenchment programs, but we've been very lucky because Accor created a artist fund for a lot of the people that were unemployed. We managed to support them. but it's tough. And I mean, when I see the wildlife and what's happening with wildlife in the Eastern Cape, and then I just look at the rest of the country. I mean, Natal's never had such rates in its history for many years. I mean, the Cape is looking incredible. I mean, Cape Town, as you know now, and I mean, they've had all their dams 100% full. And we're going through this, just, I don't know why. It's just this particular area of South Africa that's in a bad situation.
Adrian, the Mantis Collection, you have properties or have had properties in all 7 continents around the world. Have you had to mothball any of those as a result of the lockdown?
Yeah, obviously Antarctica is still working, which is good because that sort of gave us the 7. You know, Australia's totally locked down. You know, we've lost a few properties that were branded from us, which is understandable because obviously owners are looking after their own interests and we can't supply any bookings. So it's definitely had an effect. So, you know, again, but I think thankfully that we're part of an international brand. So we've got support from that. You know, the hotel in London was closed for 15 months. So it's, you know, it's tough, Darren, without even trying to skirt around it. It's been exceptionally tough.
Are there brighter times ahead, do you believe?
You know, every time we look at it, we all say, you know, this thing, surely by then it'll happen. You know, I've climbed a lot of mountains in my life, but I've always seen a view. This is the first time where I cannot, with any confidence, say, wow, I see a beautiful horizon ahead of me. The only horizon that I've got is that, you know, there's great support. People are trying to be positive in very difficult times. So, you know, I don't know what to say. When will it end? I don't know. All I would like to recommend is that, you know, people get vaccinated. You know, it's just important that happens, you know. And I understand the anti-vaxxers and all the rest of it, but if we want to get our country to where we'd like to be internationally, there's no question we've got to vaccinate.
Adrian, burnout and depression has affected the population as a whole, and not just in South Africa, but worldwide as a result of lockdown and its effects. You at the Community Conservation Fund of Africa have introduced a program recently which hopes to address this.
Yeah, I must say it's been disappointing in that we haven't had a huge uptake on it. You know, I think, do you think that has a stigma? You know, that's what I'm trying to understand, whether that sort of thing, there's a stigma to it or not.
I don't see why there should be. I would imagine it's an illness just like any other that we pick up.
Well, you know, just as if somebody says to you, you know, I'm going on a burnout program. You know, we've got 5 doctors involved and all the rest of it. You know, I'm just concerned that, you know, maybe there is some sort of thing to say, you know, I went on this burnout program. You want to admit it? You know, I don't know why it hasn't picked up. Darren, I don't know why it hasn't picked up.
I'm going to close with a hypothetical question for you, Adrian. If it was in your power to pass one law in favour of conservation, what would it be? What would you like to see changed?
You know, I think there's a lot of talk about, I mean, obviously I hate the canned hunting situation, you know, in terms of the lions and that sort of thing. And I think we are in process of changing that law. And I hope it comes into effect quicker than later. You know, we're doing a program at our reserve within PE called Hopewell, where we actually going to have the first big 5 reserve within 2 cities. Now, 2 or 3 of those facilities, like the lions, will be where we've got lions that we want to rewild and put in. And I'm doing a big thing in the Karoo with John Varty that we're trying to get off the ground, and we're trying to rewild these animals. So, you know, it's a case of, let's treat Africa as it should be. Let's have wild animals in their wild destinations. I'm not an anti-zooer because, I mean, I've been involved in some big zoo developments who actually do a lot of good. And we translocated 5 black rhino from zoos to a game reserve in Rwanda. So, you know, if they hadn't had those there, we wouldn't be able to support the population growth of a decreasing number of that particular species of rhino. So there are pluses, but, you know, some people do it exceptionally well and other people abuse it. As you've seen, you've been to certain zoos which has changed your life because
Yes.
it was so bad. And I've sent you to zoos in the UK where they do good work. So the one question is, let's treat animals as we treat our human life. They are as important to us. They are our best advert for Africa. You take the big 5 out of Africa, why would you come here?
I think we'll leave it there. Thank you for all the work you've done over decades. You've been an absolute asset to conservation and to the rewilding of the Eastern Cape, as well as many other facets of life. Adrian Gardiner, thank you for joining us on That Weekend Feeling.
I always enjoy speaking to you because you're passionate about what you do, and thank you for always including us in your great initiatives, Darren, and let's keep up the good work together. We can't do it on our own.
That was That Weekend Feeling with Daron Mann.